I feel like every time a new gaming console comes out, people wonder if it'll be backwards compatible with the previous console's library of games. And that's a valid concern because the amount of money people spend on games can be outrageous. The last thing you want to do is buy a new console and find out the next console has already been announced and they stop making games for that console. I can speak from experience with that one. My wife bought me the Super Mario Edition Wii, and literally a couple months later they announced the Wii U. And Nintendo's not really one to continue making games for the previous console and the new one like Sony and Xbox tend to do. But it seems the company Analog has you covered. Kind of. They're a couple of decades behind, but it seems they're making retro consoles with today's technology so that you A, can play your old cartridges, and B, they're designed to play on HD TVs. If you've ever tried to hook up an SNES or an N64 to a flat screen TV, it looks awful. The pixels have like a smudged, blurry look. Ugh. Whereas Analog has made these to have the same sharp look they did on your CRTs. So I bring this up because it looks like they've made an N64 that looks like an N64. I mean, look at that. That looks like an N64. It looks incredible. Has the little horseshoe indent that the original had. The buttons look different, but it still has the original four controller ports, so you can use your original four controllers. But it seems they've also added Bluetooth so that if you have the wireless N64 controllers, the new ones, you can use those as well. And if you don't have either, they've also teamed up with 8BitDo, and they've made their own controller for it. You can see it pretty much looks like the Switch Pro controller, which is fine. They had great ergonomics. And you can see where the right Joy-Con was on the Pro controller is now the A-B button, and those cluster of buttons where the A-B-Y-X was is now the C directional buttons. I don't see the Z button. I'm wondering if it's like the L2, R2 is going to be the Zs. They'll just label them as that. The Analog 3D is going for $249.99 US. That's not a bad price, considering I'm pretty sure the original N64 was right around 200. And if anyone knows how gaming companies work, they tend to take an L on the console and then get all their money from games and accessories. But this entire library is already existing, so they can only make money on this. So $250, that's not a bad bargain, I think. Let's see what other things they do. Oh yeah, the Analog Pocket we already know about. And if you don't know about it, it's essentially just a beefed up, emulating, I guess, Game Boy Color. It plays every cartridge, both regular and advanced. They also, actually, yeah, I thought I saw this. They also made adapters for like other handheld consoles in that era, like Game Gear and Atari's Lynx, to work on this as well. And I thought I saw something that resembled a Genesis. Yeah, it looks like they made like a Genesis and a Super Nintendo version. That would have been nice, actually. I wish I knew about this sooner. That would have been really cool to get. I loved Genesis. In the 90s, I was a Genesis boy. I don't know why. I knew the Super Nintendo was great, but I was like, Genesis all the way. So much better. Even though they're exactly the same. And well, I mean, they had their own library of games, of course. But yeah, I was on the Team Sega. So it seems like this company does very limited runs on their products. So yeah, sold out. I'm assuming this one's done, which sucks. That would have been great. I'm going to tell you a very sad story, and I'm not proud of it at all. I literally threw my Sega Genesis in the garbage. I know I just said I was Team Sega all through the 90s, but as we went into the 2000s, 360, PS3 came out, I still had it, but it was just collecting dust, and my mom was, clearing things out. I didn't think about the nostalgia and everything with this, and my mom's like, can I just throw this out? And I was like, sure, whatever. I'm sure it's like worth $6 at GameStop, or I think it was Electronic Boutique back then. And yeah, so she threw it right in the garbage. Not proud of it. Haunts me every day. To me, and probably everyone that grew up in the 90s playing video games, The Analog 3D is kind of a big deal, and I'll explain. The N64, in my opinion, was probably the last great in-person multiplayer console to be released. I know the Wii and the Switch had the multiplayer aspect as well, but I feel like Nintendo waffled a bit on the in-person multiplayer aspect, in my opinion. I always thought this was weird, and I bet a lot of people will agree with me. I always thought it was weird when someone would say, oh sorry, this is just a single player game for the N64. Like, I know you had Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie, those were very popular single player games. But I think I even saw it on here. It said that around 70% of the game library supports multiplayer. So there was a massive focus with the Nintendo 64 to have in-person multiplayer. Obviously online didn't exist yet, but multiplayer was a big aspect when creating games for the N64. But today's gamer prefers the single player. And by single player, I mean you have the whole screen to yourself. I know you can play with thousands of people online, but that just doesn't count. I feel like with online gaming today, gamers have really been brought together from around the world. But at the same time, I feel like we've never been so disconnected. Gaming with your friends was always about, you know, sitting in your friend's basement, playing N64, eating pizza, and downing bottles of Jolt. Sorry, this kind of became a rant about multiplayer gaming instead of the Analog 3D. But even though Analog probably won't make too many of these, it's nice to see companies trying to keep retro gaming alive. I don't know, you guys tell me what you think about the Analog 3D. Is it a waste of money? Is it a good investment? Especially for all the retro games that you probably own? Let me know in the comments. I realize I'm a little late to the game on this. I've seen a lot of videos popping up about it. But if you guys like this, please leave a like, subscribe if you like the content so far, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks, guys.